man?
Got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
We took a short hiatus, but we're back, and yeah, I mean, two tough losses. Um, I don't know. I think it's time to just start being real about this team, and just to put it simple, I mean, we need to win both games, against the Bears and Jets because we get the Lions week 10. But at this point, the Chiefs do have a tough schedule. Um, But then again, the Raiders are 3-4, right? We're 2-4, so we're not that much different than the Raiders. Um, if we don't win both of these games, you look at the draft class. Um, you have generational talents, not just Caleb Williams, but also Marvin Harrison Jr. And you pair him with this wide receiver core that we have currently. I don't know if you can pass that up. I don't know you know if it's worth it winning games, meaningless games, if you don't win these next two, for a 6 or 7 spot in the playoffs, just to get bounced in the first round, like in the wild card, like last year. So I think these next 2 weeks are going to say a lot about this team. But yeah, I'll let you give your thoughts on this.
Yeah, it's kind of the same issues we keep talking about. We're not getting Quentin Johnston involved. The O line is really struggling without Corey Linsley. Um, Herbert's, people want to downplay Herbert's finger, but you saw the last telecast. It didn't look good, and they were talking about it too. Yeah, one of the commentators was saying it's just going to take him some time to adjust, but it's a concentration thing, and the quarterback position is all about concentration. And we see Herbert missing throws he makes all the time. Wide open touchdowns to Keenan Allen, and Keenan's getting doubled. Palmer had a great day, but yeah, we still need Johnston involved to have a chance. Ekeler hasn't done anything since he came back. He doesn't look like his normal self. It looked like he kind of re-injured that ankle the last game. So we'll see how he is. But yeah, the run game has not been good. I don't know what's going on with our defensive scheme. The commentators kept talking about it. Kelsey was wide open. It's like we're doing soft coverage, giving people 10, 15 yards because we don't want to give a long touchdown. But you can't keep giving up 10 yards every play. So yeah, it seems like a real problem, and it's a Brandon Staley issue. We're not we're just playing really soft coverage, and I don't know. You're not going to win that way. These next two games, like you said, on the schedule, it looks like we should win. Are we going to win? Who knows? We'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have Brandon Staley saying he's going to continue calling defensive plays. Okay, great, but if you're the one calling the defensive plays, up to now, it's been horrible. It's just inexcusable coverage against Kelsey. Every time you look at him, he's wide open.
Yeah.
With 3rd and 15 play, Derwin's running with a player. I forgot who it was. I think it was Justin Watson. And he turns around and he sees Mahomes past the line of scrimmage, and he just still going with the player, not turning around and stopping Mahomes. It's insane. I mean, 3rd and 15, you let a quarterback run for 15 yards and get that first. That is, I don't understand this defense, truly. Derwin's hasn't played well this season. You have all these big names: Derwin James, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack. He hasn't done much since the Raiders game. It's just a sad situation for the defense. You have some good guys like Alohi Gilman. He hasn't played, but when he does play, he plays well. I think Joshua Taylor's played pretty well. Asante Samuel Jr., for all the hate he gets, I think he's been one of our best guys since he's entered the league. And Tooley has really been our best defender. Eric Kendricks, I mean, the PI call on him in the red zone, like, what are you doing, man? You're a veteran. You're not even looking at the ball. I mean, come on. That gives the Chiefs easy 6 points. It wasn't even a close game. We expected a close game at least. Two touchdown loss. Come on. Um, just a horrible showing. I mean, the Cowboys game in and of itself was very frustrating to watch. Like you said, Herbert's injury, you know, it definitely is affecting him because he's overthrowing Keenan Allen, and twice he overthrew him. Once it was a clear touchdown. The Cowboys game, he overthrew him early in the fourth, and that was going to be a touchdown, a long one at that. Um, that could have been a difference maker in both games, the overthrows. I get the injury, and I don't want to re-aggravate that injury either. So that's why I'm saying maybe if we don't win both of these next two games, it's time to really reevaluate this team and maybe say, okay, Herbert needs to go into the offseason. You know, that finger has to rest and not have him throwing, 50 times a game when you're, what, 2-6 if you lose both, or 3-5. Um, I don't know. It's got to be a topic of conversation if they lose both. Even if they lose one, because you play the Lions and then 2 weeks later you play the Ravens, neither of which are going to be easy games. So it's not going to be an easy schedule. I know that the Chiefs don't have an easy schedule, but they beat us by 2 touchdowns. So you gotta kind of, if you're have the same record by week 18, you gotta win by more than 2 touchdowns to force that tiebreaker in your favor. And I don't see that happening, but not with this defense. So it's just a horrible situation all around for this team. With the Herbert injury, Ekeler injury, and then the defense just playing horrific. I've never seen a Chargers defense play this bad, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean the bright spot you could say is at least we're playing good run defense. Which has been which has not been good under Brandon Staley.
Yeah.
Finally, this year it shows up, but the thing is, we're allowing so many passing yards. It doesn't matter. It's
Right.
it would be better to be giving up the run right now if we
Yeah.
could stop the pass. But
Yeah.
yeah, and just really missing Mike Williams, really missing Corey Linsley. On offense, it just seems like we sputter out. And teams are gonna just keep doubling Keenan because then all we have is Josh Palmer, and he's making plays. He had what, like 150 something yards,
Yeah.
but but it, but we've shown we can't win just throwing to Josh Palmer.
Mhm.
We we need to get Johnston involved, and you can go and look back at plays, and Johnston's getting open, but I think the problem is the O line. The O line's not holding up. It's giving up sacks, and you need time to let the play develop for Johnston, and they can't do it right now.
Yeah.
So yeah,
No, I agree with Corey Linsley's point. He's huge for this team, and I don't see him returning this year. Obviously, health comes first, and hopefully he recovers and he's back next year. But you have the Max Crosby's of the world, Micah Parsons, etc. They're lining up on the other side of Rashawn Slater. And you got Trey Pipkins there, and Pipkins, every time there's a flag call, it's like it's on him, or Austin Johnson. Yeah, it's just the offensive line has been a nightmare for many years for this team. I think it got better under Rashawn Slater. Corey Linsley, of course, helped. But I think Will Clapp, he's done a decent job. But yeah, it's just that right side of the offensive line is just horrible, and that's where all the heavy hitters are. Um, yeah, you're not giving Herbert time to throw. That's another problem, and you don't have Ekeler on the field enough to do those dump offs. We've seen years prior. So, I mean, Quentin Johnston, he has a lot of talent. I think he has a bright future. But if we are in week 18 and we don't see improvement from weeks 1 through 7, if he's playing the same way that he has been, in week 18, I think that's a problem. And I think that's when you got to really say, and depending on the record that we have, really got to say maybe it's time to draft a wide receiver like Marvin Harrison Jr. Um, because that is really a generational talent. And, we did pass up on Zay Flowers. We did pass up on Jordan Addison. I was a fan of Zay Flowers in college. I thought he should have been the Chargers pick. But then I said, okay, 6'4" wide receiver is not bad either. But he just hasn't shown anything. And yes, to your point, he hasn't been targeted much. But like the Cowboys game, for example, when Herbert threw that last interception, that was going to Johnston, and you saw the defender just come and shove him and intercept that pass. That can't happen. Whereas Zay Flowers started as a wide receiver 3 before the season began on the depth chart, behind Odell and Bateman, and now he's wide receiver 1. Addison was wide receiver 2. Now he's 1 with the Jefferson injury. But even with Jefferson playing, Addison was playing at a high level. Flowers has been playing at a high level. I just don't see that kind of spark from Johnston. And it could be because he's not getting the targets. But even when he is being targeted, like the Cowboys game, it seems like he's just being pushed around too much. And I think that's a problem. But it can be easily addressed. I think more so than the offense is the defense. You can't. One thing I will say, though, is the Chiefs scored 31 points, but the offense only scored 17 for the Chargers. When we were talking with Sean Merriman, I believe it was before week 1, he was saying, this offense has to compete and has to put up points, like 30, 34 points a game for them to compete because, the lack of the defensive production that we're going to see. To put up 17 points, that's not going to cut it. Overthrowing receivers, right, is not going to cut it. Of course, I get the injury. I know I'm not minimizing the injury. It's just, we can't be careless in the red zone, especially. And putting up 17 is just inexcusable. And I don't think they scored in the second half, did they?
I don't think they did. Yeah, Herbert had that interception in the red zone. They batted his pass. The Chiefs batted a lot of his passes. It seemed like this, years prior, Herbert had that issue, and this season it seemed like he was doing better, but the Chiefs defenders were all getting their hands up and batting some crucial passes down. And the Chiefs offense wasn't very good this season until they played the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
They went off against us because of that soft coverage, and our offense wasn't there. It was really both sides of the ball, man.
Yeah. I think it goes without saying, Staley got outcoached again. That's not a surprise because Andy Reid is one of the best coaches, if not the best right now. But it seems like the Chiefs watch film a lot, right? That's why they know how Herbert's going to throw, where he's going to throw to, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas the Chargers defense, or whatever, the defensive coordinator that we have, or Staley, what do they do when they're watching film? Do they actually watch? Do they pay attention to these things? Or because it didn't show, like, they're going to go to Travis Kelce. He's their only one of 2 options, right? It's either him or Rashee Rice. And he's constantly open.
Yeah, why did it take so long to double team Kelce? After he had like 160 yards or whatever it was.
And that was in the first half, I think. He had 160 yards in the first. Yeah,
in the first half. Then we started doubling him. After it's too late. It was like the same thing with Tyreek Hill. And it's like we've seen these guys for years. We know what they can do. Why are we why are we allowing this? It's you just got to shake your head and say what's going on.
Yeah.
Staley knows he's coaching for his job, or he should know that.
There was a rumor that I think Sean Merriman commented on yesterday. It was that Matt Patricia might be the Chargers' next coach.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's not really an upgrade. Like, we're not. If it wasn't for these cheating scandals in Michigan, I would think Harbaugh would be a good coach for the Chargers. But let's see what happens with these scandals. If it comes true, then obviously that's ruled out. but he'd be a good coach, I think, for the Chargers. I think, you know, the Giants coach would have been a good coach for the Chargers. There were a lot of options back then, so hopefully they learned their lesson. But it truly like makes me miss Anthony Lynn. Um, that's how bad Staley's been. And I think Lynn kind of kept this team disciplined. If nothing else, he kept them disciplined, and they paid attention to Lynn. And there were rumors that Staley's lost the locker room. I thought that would have happened a long time ago, but I think we need a coach like Lynn to keep this team disciplined and keep them focused on winning. Just win the damn games.
Yeah, and you go back years ago, we interviewed Andy Reid. We could have hired him, and
Yeah.
what a mistake that was.
Yeah.
That falls on TT. You know,
Yep.
Tom Telesco has not done a good job with coaches at all, and he's good at evaluating talent. At least early round talent, and sometimes undrafted players and things like that. But he has been terrible at picking a coach.
Yeah.
So
And you got to ask yourself how long until Telesco. He should be on a short leash too, like Staley. Um, but if he's lost a locker room, what incentive do these players have to go out there and give it their all every game, every week?
yeah,
Um,
did you see that video from Eckler? Yeah,
yeah.
they asked him about it. He's like, what choice do we have? This is our guy, and we're riding with him. We have
Mhm.
no other choice.
Right.
So,
I mean, now that I mentioned that, maybe Joey Bosa, yes, injury and everything. Maybe that's why he's not, playing at a high level because he just doesn't care. He just wants this guy gone, or he wants to be gone. And I think Bosa's gone regardless. If he's traded or not, I think he's gone. Unfortunately, he's just not giving his all, and it could be because he's just sick and tired of Staley. But I think it's time to either, say, okay, we're going to fire this guy and pay off his salary, or we're going to keep him and keep losing games because players are uninterested, and then fire him, get a replacement, and draft, a better player in the upcoming draft. But those are the two options. I mean, I don't see this team going far, even if they make the playoffs. If I'm just being a realist here, I don't see them going far because, look, optimistically speaking, Chiefs lose these games against the Dolphins, Eagles, these tough games that they have, right? We win out most of these games. We fight for the division in week 18, optimistically speaking. But realistically speaking, if they don't get home field advantage in the playoffs, they're not going to go far. And if they don't get home field, they're likely out first round. And then what? We settle for another 20th pick or 21st pick, whatever. And same thing, again next year, because you're going to miss a lot of these players, right? Eckler's not going to. Eckler, I don't know what's going to happen, honestly, because if Staley leaves, right, and you bring a coach that, I don't know, worked well with Eckler. Who was the coach that worked well with Eckler? I would say Anthony Lynn. He wasn't that bad with Eckler because Eckler was playing at a high level when Lynn was there, and I believe Melvin Gordon was with us at the time, and Eckler was being given those RB1 duties even with Melvin Gordon there. So Lynn had a good relationship with Eckler. Obviously, you're not going to bring him back, I don't think, but somebody like that who has a good relationship with Eckler could make Eckler stay. You look at the RB market right now, not much happening. So who's going to offer Eckler more money, or he's used to being in LA and he's used to these players and these, he's made friends obviously with most of these players. So maybe he will stay if Staley is fired. But man, if you're not going to get home field advantage here, is what I'm trying to say. This is what I'm trying to say. If you're not going to get home field advantage, you should just tank and let Herbert rest that finger for next year. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it doesn't the future doesn't look very bright for this season. just with the way they played. So yeah, what are you playing for right now? You know, barely get into the playoffs and lose again like that Jaguars game. You know, yeah, you can't have much confidence in this team right now. As far as Eckler goes, I think if he gets a good offer from the Chargers, I think he'll come back just because, like you said, he likes the players. His fiance, his mom sit near me at the games, and they have a great time. You know, I think they love that LA lifestyle. So we'll see what kind of offer the Chargers throw at him. You know, how valuable do they think he is to the organization? You know, I don't know. They haven't given him a huge offer yet. So
I
um,
think the mom is, or yeah, I think she's a realtor in Colorado.
yeah,
So
she is. She flies. Yeah,
yeah, I don't see the Broncos, let's say, offering Eckler anything because they have Javante and um, I think McLaughlin or something like
yeah.
that. Oh, and Samaje Perine. So yeah, I don't see them offering Eckler anything. So yeah, I the more these days go by, I think he stays. It's just a matter of the Staley stay, and if Staley stays, I don't see Eckler here. If Staley is fired, then I could see Eckler staying. I don't think we keep Bosa. I don't think Bosa wants to stay. I'll put it that way. Um, we might keep Mac, but it's just you got a lot of players to deal with here, and I don't think Mike Williams. I don't think he'll be offered what he wants to be offered, and that ACL tear obviously is gonna, it's gonna kind of make teams cautious of offering him a big contract. So maybe he might stay for a lesser extension. I would like 1 year extension for less money. But yeah, anything can happen. It's still very early, but I think priority number one is to fire Staley after the season. The thing that I'm afraid about is, let's say you go 8-9, 9-8, and they say, okay, Staley's good enough, and they keep him. If they do that, forget this team.
Can you imagine the fan outcry if Staley is
Oh
kept
man,
if that happens? No, I mean we're not going to be happy unless there's a deep playoff run. You know
yeah,
that
yeah.
that's the only way I could see fans happy with Staley being around.
Yeah, I mean, I would be very happy with if we go deep. Even if we don't reach the Super Bowl, we make the conference championship. Great.
Yeah,
Not with the way this team's playing, not with the play calls of this defense. It's not going to happen. Okay, and as much as I like Kellen Moore, um, there needs to be more of that type of the deep route passes, right? And that could be because of Herbert's injury. They're not doing those, but it was successful in the first couple of weeks. So they got to go back to that. And it's just I think you have to just find that right coach in the offseason that gels with the offense more than the defense. And the reason being is because you have more young people on that defense, and a lot of those guys, a lot of those veterans are not going to be there next year. So you have more young people there. They'll get accustomed to the coach. The offense, you have more veterans. So you need a coach that gels with the offense more.
yeah. It's just so frustrating because we know the talent that's there. We know the potential that is there. We've seen glimpses of it. We've beaten the Chiefs before, and to not even be close right now, it's just disheartening, really.
Mhm.
And looking ahead at this Bears game on paper, it's a game we should win, but they have been playing better as of late, and
They just beat the Raiders. So,
yeah, and Dante Foreman, three touchdowns, huge for fantasy.
yeah.
What's he gonna do against us? Are we gonna be able to stop the run like we have been? I most likely no Justin Fields for this game. Um,
Yeah. I
but
think Fields has been ruled out, but Roshan Johnson might play. And
yeah, he's another really talented running back. Um, yeah, I'm not sure how did they do in the passing game with their backup this last game. I know they put up
um,
30
I
some.
Yeah, I'm not sure honestly. I think Foreman just went off. I know that.
Right.
I don't think the passing game was that great.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, yeah, you got to contain DJ Moore still. Um, don't let Cole Kmet have a Travis Kelsey type game.
Yeah.
They have Robert Tanyan too, who's I think should be more involved, but he's not as involved in this offense. And then yeah, Roshan Johnson likely will play. He's been in concussion protocol, but that's been about 2 weeks already, so he'll probably play. And then Foreman, I mean, he's a tank, So you gotta, if you're Eric Kendricks and Kyler Murray, you gotta. I'm sorry,
Kenneth Murray.
Kenneth Murray. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
who has been playing better this season.
He
Murray.
has. He has. I think he has taken that criticism from the fans, I think, to heart, and he stepped up. But Eric Kendricks, I had high hopes for this guy. Before the season started, he's made some mistakes, like the PI call and missed tackles and stuff, but I think he can make up for it. Against the Bears. That's a divisional rival, quote unquote, for him because he played for the Vikings for so many years. So he's accustomed to playing the Bears. Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch that game. I mean, objectively speaking, this should not be a primetime game.
Yeah,
I think you should flex the Chargers Lions game to primetime, but we're primetime again. I mean, fine with us. But
yeah,
objectively speaking, it shouldn't be. But this is a time where you gotta really, if you're the offense, if you're the Chargers offense, you have to put up a lot of points. Put up 30. Because a lot of people will be watching this game is because it's prime time.
mhm,
Um, you have to put up a lot of points. I don't care who's on the other side of whether it's Justin Fields or this backup quarterback, doesn't matter, because if the defense is not going to step up, it doesn't matter who's on the other side, right? They can run with Foreman 30 times for all we know.
yeah. Like you said, it's been a bad season for Derwin James. So many bad penalties. Some were little ticky tack calls by the refs, but still, you got to know how they're calling the game these days. And like I've seen online, Derwin's really been a negative for us this season. When so many years he's been a positive, best player on defense usually,
Mhm.
and he's really got to step up. He's that supposed to be that leader of the defense, and you know um, it's just tough to see these guys who we've seen with so much talent not show it out on the field. You know, um, yeah. So I'm hoping, like when we talked about Mac before, and then he had that huge game. Derwin, it's Derwin's time to step up.
Yeah, I mean, for years I've been saying Derwin's the best safety in the league. He's the best all-around defender in the league, and now he goes out and does this.
Yeah,
Um, it's just I don't know. It could be injury. It could be again going back to the Staley point. They don't want to play. Maybe these are just assumptions. Obviously, they want to throw the season away to fire Staley. Who knows?
as
But
as a competitor, you know, I don't know. As a competitor, it's like you never want to do it, even if you hate your coach. It's like I don't see how you could intentionally do that. Maybe it's on a subconscious level. It could be.
even like competitor wise, I don't see that competitiveness from this defense.
Yeah,
So it's just you're basically allowing these. I'm not gonna say no name players because Rashi Rice, I've noted here before, he's very good,
yeah,
but like he's not a Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill type player.
mhm,
Have big games. Um, so I don't know. It's a weird situation, I guess, in the locker room. Um, but I mean, you got to beat the Bears, and if you don't beat the Bears, forget it.
yeah,
I think the season's washed if they don't win Sunday. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, you go to New Jersey next against the Jets. That's not going to be an easy game. That
No,
Jets defense is the real deal.
Yeah.
Brees Hall, he's very good. So it's you don't win Sunday, this season's washed. I'm sorry. I just you know I it's just I don't want to give out false hope. You know. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I still feel like we should beat the Bears. I I I feel like we will, but how many times has that happened already this season? Where
yeah,
we've had a game we should win, or at least be competitive against the Chiefs, and we weren't. So yeah, it's you really don't know what you're going to get with this team, and it falls back on coaching.
yeah,
Because the talent is there, and they're not playing up to what they're capable of. So you have to look at the coach and say, you know, what are you doing? Why are you allowing other teams' best players, to get wide open, and not do
yeah.
anything about it? It
It's really frustrating watching this team, to be honest. Like, before the or during the bye week, I had said we should win 3 of the next 4 if we're serious about winning the division, and you go out and you lose both.
Yeah.
And we said the Jets and Bears game are guaranteed to win, should be guaranteed wins. Now I don't know. I don't know. I think they beat the Bears. I do think they beat the Bears because if you don't beat the Bears, like I said, forget it.
Yeah.
But I think they do beat them. Then the question is, do you beat the Jets? Right? You got to win both. One is not going to be content here. You got to win both, and then you got to be competitive against the Lions. They just got slapped by the Ravens. They're going to come out fired up this week, right? But you never know what'll happen in 2 weeks. So it's at SoFi. That game should be winnable against the Bears. Should be winnable against the Jets, and then the Lions game is at SoFi as well. So there is hope, very slim hope, if they win Sunday. If they don't win Sunday, you're 2-5. Let's say the Chiefs win again. There's no chance of winning that division.
Yeah. Yeah. As it stands now, it just looks like it's a slim chance to win the division. We're
Yeah,
looking at, hopefully getting 9, 10 wins and just barely making the playoffs, and hoping, we go on some crazy run in the playoffs where, we don't have a big meltdown again. Um,
I don't see that happening with Staley. I really don't. I mean, you look back now. The Titans game should have been a win, right?
yeah.
The Dolphins game, we came so close. Again, JC Jackson, kind of screwed us over there, but he's doing better now, with the Patriots all of a sudden, which we expected. But you go back now and you say, okay, those are 2 games that you should have won, and that would have been a huge difference maker now. But it is what it is. I mean, you can't go back in time now. But yeah, it starts with winning Sunday. You don't win Sunday, forget it.
Yeah. 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 But I think we both feel like we should pull this victory off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, if you don't win Sunday, you know,
Yeah.
I was surprised to see the Raiders lose by that much, to be honest. I know Brian Hoyer was the quarterback, but damn, I didn't expect the Bears to come out fired up like that. So you never know what to expect from the Bears.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's two games in a row they've won, right? The Bears.
Yeah, and without Fields.
Yeah.
So you look at what they're saying about Fields, and drafting Caleb Williams possibly. If they keep winning, they're not going to be able to draft Caleb Williams. But if they keep winning, I think Fields is gone from the Bears.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, man, what you talk about dysfunctional organizations, at least we have a quarterback, and we know he's going to be around for a while. That's
Yeah,
that's the bright spot. We
yeah,
have, and that's the biggest thing you need, to be competitive. So
yeah.
we've got that locked down at least. Unlike teams like the Raiders and the Bears, and
I mean, you have some people, some Chargers fans, surprisingly saying we should tank for Caleb Williams.
uh,
I'm like, guys, come on.
yeah,
Caleb Williams, he's good. he's gonna be special, but he goes up against these tougher defenses like Notre Dame, for example, and he struggles. So I'm not gonna trust Caleb Williams just yet. But going based off like the mock draft or whatever they have, if they do lose Eckler, I like the Notre Dame running back. I can't remember his name. Estime, I think, is his name. He is very good. He's like a Mike Tolbert type
Okay.
body structure,
Mhm.
but he is much faster.
Oh,
Um, he's like Derrick Henry. That's what I
oh,
would compare him to, Derrick Henry. So I would love a running back like him.
yeah,
Even if we keep Eckler, right, a runner like that. Um, and Derrick Henry is on the trade block. I don't know. If the Chargers are serious about winning this year, you got to make moves. I
yeah,
would, Derrick Henry. Yes, he's getting older, but that means they're not going to want as much possibly for Derrick Henry. So I
yeah.
consider it.
You think about Telesco. He's not one. He never makes big in season trades.
Yeah,
That's another knock against him.
right. I was about to say that, and that's another problem.
Yeah. But is that coming up from Spanos? Is that who knows?
I don't understand it. I mean, if you want to win, you got to make these moves.
Yeah.
So I don't understand, and it's not really an offensive problem, but at the same time, it would be nice to have a running back like Tyreek Hill. I'm sorry, not Derrick
No.
Henry.
Right.
Derrick Henry. My
Yeah.
mind's everywhere right now. Like Derrick Henry. I mean, I think they just traded Kevin Byard to the Eagles. I'm not sure what the Eagles gave up, but they're just tossing these players out,
Yeah.
like it's nothing. Hopkins is on the block, but I don't think we need a receiver. I think more of a running back here, like for goal line touches, especially.
Yeah.
Um, but even if it's a defensive player, even better, right? Whatever is going to cost you less, but do something. And
Yeah.
if they don't win against the Bears, likely that's not going to be done. But if they do win, then possibly you'll see some changes, hopefully, because you're going to need it.
Yeah. And like we mentioned at the beginning of this season, where's Isaiah Spiller been? Talk about a running back that was supposed to have talent, and we've seen flashes of it in preseason. Why? If we're having a tough time, why aren't we getting guys like him, Darius Davis, Quentin Johnston, these young guys that have talent? Why aren't we putting them on the field? When we're struggling, obviously.
Yeah, Spiller saw some time, I think, against the Cowboys, and then Davis saw a lot of time against the Chiefs,
Yeah,
and he was involved against the Chiefs, and I loved seeing that. He's like our Tyreek Hill type player.
yeah,
So we need to see more of Davis. I mean, you drafted him for a reason.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I don't know what's going on with Johnston. If again Week 18 comes by and he's still playing the same way he was in Week 1, that's a huge problem.
yeah, yeah. It is, and it's funny hearing fans, you know, uh, go after Herbert after two bad games. And bad by his standards. He's
Yeah.
still.
Look, I think, after that Cowboys game, I was like, okay, Herbert should have some fault here. Um, but that Chiefs game, come on, that was not Herbert's fault.
Yeah,
Okay, he was being constantly blitzed.
yeah,
And that offensive line, even when they weren't blitzing, that offensive line just couldn't hold their own. The defense gave up 31 points. That was not Herbert's fault.
yeah,
So the Cowboys game could have been, yes, but not every game is going to be Herbert's fault. I'll tell you that.
yeah, yeah. And it's just sad. You go back to the Philip Rivers days, and it's just a cycle of you know of bad luck with injuries, and just bad bad timing for turnovers,
Yeah.
late game collapses, heartbreaking losses. It's as Chargers fans, we've seen it over and over again. I went to a music festival when we were young in Vegas, and the security guard, I was wearing my Chargers hat, and the security, big, huge guy, stops me. He goes, "Are you a Chargers fan?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Give me a hug."
Was it because he's a Chargers fan or felt bad?
Yeah, because he's a Chargers fan.
I thought because he felt bad.
Well, yeah, it could have been that too. But yeah, he was a Chargers fan, and I was like, the KC game had just happened. I had just left my hotel after the KC game. I said, did you watch the game? He goes, did we lose? I was like, oh man, yeah, we did.
The funny thing is, he said, "Did we lose and not did we win?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So yeah. So, even in Vegas, man. Even
Yeah,
uh,
but yeah, I mean, just the last point, RB wise. Look, it was a disaster without Austin Ekeler.
yeah,
You know, you either draft the running back, Audric Estime, that was his name, full name, like him, or you re-sign Eckler, or do both because Joshua Kelly's not going to cut it.
yeah. He did have that nice long touchdown run
He did,
against KC. Yeah,
he did, but
but
he's not going to be that RB1.
yeah, yeah. He'd be good to keep around as a RB3.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
All right, so let's just hope they win Sunday, and maybe turn this season around. But if they don't win, I think it's time to think about next season already.
Yeah, it is. But be sure to subscribe and smash that like button, and we'll we'll be here discussing all the highs and lows.
Yep.
All right.
Hey guys.
Later.